Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, Attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today is Jennifer Prescott with Blue Water Homecare. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Kim.
So we're going to talk about something that every kid goes, oh my gosh, should I do this? We're going to talk about, should I move, my elderly mom or dad, do I move them into the house because they can't stay by themselves anymore? And because it's a lot of questioning, about the right things to do. So we're going to talk about that today. And ironically enough, we're talking about this with someone who owns a home care agency, owns a hospice company in Austin. So this is really interesting that we're having this conversation with you because you'd almost imagine that you wouldn't, considering the businesses that you're in. So let's talk real quick. So I'm assuming that we're having this conversation because you did just that. And
I absolutely did. So I'm a nurse actually by trade for 27 years. And so my husband and I have been married. Thank you. I'm not, but I will take that. So my husband and I got married about 5.5 years ago. And when we got married, we knew that his mom was aging. My mom had subsequently passed away about 7 years ago. My dad is almost 90 and lives by himself in North Carolina. But my mother-in-law was declining and she was having some memory issues. And we talked about her moving. And so because she just couldn't live by herself anymore. It wasn't safe. And one of the things that we're experiencing is the sandwich generation. And many people that are probably watching today are experiencing the same thing. So the sandwich generation means that I am caring for an elderly parent, and I'm also parenting my children I have 4 of them. They're ages 9, 13, 16, and 20.
And so I did that with my grandparents. I had teenagers at home, so mine were like, probably 11, 13, 15. And then I had an extra 11-year-old, or 13, 15, 17, somewhere right around in there. And so I did the same thing. But my grandparents were able to stay at home, at their home with caregivers. And so, because that's what they wanted. So let's talk about, because I know what my challenges were. I'm real curious to hear about what your challenges, were or are in regards to having that parent move in.
Well, I think one of the first challenges is that I thought, I'm a clinician, so I'm a nurse for a really long time. I was a hospice nurse. I am a hospice nurse. And I thought, this is going to be super. I'm a dementia practitioner and my mother-in-law has dementia. And I was like, oh, this is going to be cake. And what I realized is that the easy stuff is really hard. And I did not anticipate, although my mother-in-law, I thought, she's able to do her own activities of daily living. She can do her bathing, dressing, grooming. She cannot do meal preparation and planning anymore. She cannot drive anymore because we're afraid that she's going to get lost. But I think the biggest thing is that the challenges are time. So because I'm in the sandwich generation, and we all know that you say yes to something and you say no to something else. And we have 2 businesses that my husband, Travis, and I run together. And of course, juggling 4 children. And so adding another adult to the mix, of course, we're responsible for all of her healthcare needs. So she can't drive anymore. And so I think we didn't recognize that it was going to change so quickly, because when she moved in about 4.5 years ago, she was driving, she was cooking, she was going to her doctor's appointment, she was getting her hair done. Not so much anymore. And so it truly is a 24/7 job when you're caring for a senior or, parenting your aging parents. And it's not like kiddos when you know that they're going to, they're going to grow up, they're going to start driving, they're going to be able to be independent. Unfortunately, our seniors, whether the parent or grandparent, they get more dependent as they get older rather than, looking forward to the independence.
And so, did you find that it was difficult for the children in regards to watching that, type of decline?
So, actually, as a blessing, it really hasn't. I think if anything, is they recognize the time it takes. So for me, there's been some blessings, and I know we're going to talk about that later, but there's been some blessings that have occurred with having the kids. And I guess they get to see that, what it is to parent an aging parent, what it is to be to honor your elderly. Because I think that when you have babies and kids, they're like shiny and pretty and they might stink a little bit, but when you get older, it's like it's just different. And so it was important to us because we're all going to get older one day, and I was hoping that our kids would see that this would be a positive experience and be less fearful and know what to expect when my husband and I start to age as well. And it gives us choices. So, they'll treat us better. And so it's been a blessing because the kids actually, we have dinner together every night, which is wonderful for my mother-in-law. She also has a caregiver, and we had to do that last year because, running businesses, and it doesn't have to be a business owner. It can just be a daughter or a son-in-law or, a son. You have other lives and other responsibilities.
So, um, before deciding, that the parent should move in with you, what should they consider?
So I think you need to be looking ahead. I think you need to look at what are the resources that you have. So is your home safe? That's one of the low hanging fruit. So you need to plan for the unexpected. You need to look to see, what does your loved one want and what can you truly give? Because we talked about earlier, you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And that is really true. And whatever you expect when you bring a senior in your home, it doesn't matter how sweet and kind and grateful they are. I'm telling you, it's going to be 100 times harder than you can even imagine. So I think that when you're starting to consider, you're looking at your home, is this something that is going to be safe? Do we need to make adjustments to the home? Are you a 2-story home? Can mom get up the stairs? Because fall risk is a big thing for seniors. And I think it's time. The other thing is, like, do you have the time to dedicate? And if you don't have the time, do you have the finances to be able to bring in care? So, like, our agency is a non-medical home care agency, one of our companies, and we help seniors age in place. And that may be at their parents, at their kids' houses or their nieces or their grandchildren's homes. The other thing is that, are we in a situation where, long term you can make this decision? Because I think you can't make a short term decision. I think people sometimes think, okay, well, we're just going to move them in for a little bit of time. It's harder to have them leave if it's not working out. So you need to anticipate the worst. And I think one of the other most important things is physically. So, do you physically have the ability and emotionally to care for someone in your home? Because a lot of times, you may have, even if it's a child taking care of an aging parent, that child may have health issues or emotional issues, because you just need to expect that it's going to be exponential, the needs. That doesn't mean it can't be wonderful and it can't be done. You just need to expect the physicality that it takes. Right now, for my mother-in-law, she doesn't require a lot of physical assistance. It's more the, doctor's appointments. It's, we have to have dinner every night, and she is looking for dinner. Even when I've literally worked, 100 hours in a week, I have to come home smiling and make dinner, or my husband has to make dinner. And you have to be prepared for that. And you have to have come in with a grateful heart, and you can't, be frustrated, kind of like when you have kids. It is a responsibility.
So when I built the house that I had, or that I have, my thought was my grandparents would be living with me at some point in time in the future. But I didn't have the foresight to make some construction changes that should have been made, that I didn't figure out until, because with private caregivers, holidays, my grandfather was at the house. but I couldn't get his wheelchair all the way into the bathroom because the doors weren't wide enough. So, but at the time I built the house, I never thought about him having a stroke. I just thought he might just be living with me. I never in my wildest dreams thought he would end up in a wheelchair and not be able to walk, because as his stuff progressed. So that was a huge issue because I couldn't pick him up, so my son had to do it, pick him up out of the wheelchair and, and put him on the toilet and things like that, So, there were things that I should have thought about, so, doors have to be widened.
Doors, yes.
Even with walkers, you want them wide, So, there are you talked briefly about, where would they be and, what kind of changes you made. But construction, was a big one that I think a lot of people miss, because I wasn't even thinking about it, Now builder knew, he knew that that they might be living with me one day. And, but never did he tell me, hey, we should widen these doors, while we're here,
It's
true. So that's a huge thing, is really making sure that the space is movable. Like we put a seat in my shower so that
I was just going to say, shower, zero entry. If anybody's watching this, like the zero entry showers, even for people when you're building houses, like early 40s, 50s, when you're building a house, consider 20 years down the road that you may need a zero entry. And I know a lot of the homes now are having these zero entry showers, which are amazing. I would definitely consider. It doesn't cost anything for the most part when you plan for it, but when you don't plan for, we know it costs you a ton, right?
Yeah.
After the fact. And good luck now during the pandemic getting someone to come out, right?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Most definitely. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the benefits and the joys that you've experienced having your mother-in-law with you.
Well, I think for me, it's a blessing because I lost my mom 7 years ago. So she passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack. And this is a way that I think I can honor my mom and my husband also by honoring my mother-in-law and for treating her well and including her. And, she's able to share recipes with us. Some of my husband's favorite, he loves snickerdoodles and he loves beef bourguignon. And, his mom always made those things and his grandmother. So those are things that we're able to share that maybe my mother-in-law is not able to make those things anymore, but we're able to hand down, those recipes to our family and our kids, and they're able to enjoy those things. One of the other blessings is, the 9-year-old is very close to her grandmother, Mimi, we call her, and she'll go upstairs with her iPad and Mimi will be watching, something on television and she'll have her little iPad and we'll be hanging and having some snacks. Because what do you do when you go to a grandparent's? Because she's got a little casita, my mother-in-law, and they might play games. And so it's becoming more challenging right now to play games with my mother-in-law just because of her memory issues. But the 9-year-old doesn't care and she's really patient. And so, I talked about before, I think, watching your children see you parent an aging parent is important because they start to get used to what it's like. And so we try to make sure that we're displaying patience as much as possible, because it is challenging. You have worked all day. Sometimes you come home and you really don't want to make dinner or you don't really want to, you just want to get in your comfy clothes and, put my Birkenstocks on and just kind of like maybe get a glass of wine or a margarita. But, we've been able to sort of like enjoy these things as a family, but also know that she knows that we're close by, we're literally like 3 steps away. And then the grandkids can go up and down the stairs and see her. And she enjoys that. And especially she enjoys the dog too, which has been a really big blessing. We have a basset hound named Molly with the big floppy ears. And so, those are things that, not only the kids enjoy, I can tell you the dog enjoys it too, because Mimi has more time than we do.
Yeah. Nothing like sitting around all day rubbing their bellies.
Pretty much. And she's got a fat belly.
Yeah. And so, well, let's talk briefly about, what red flags that you would, that you would tell a family that this may not be the best situation for them.
So I think the first thing is time. So do you truly have the time? And so again, whatever you think the time is going to need, I want you to consider the time is going to be much more expanded than you think. So I don't want you to just think about like this month. I want you to think about 5 years, 10 years down the road, because it's really hard from emotional standpoint, familial standpoint. I think it's just a challenging situation to try to have someone leave. That's just, you're uprooting them from their new home. And so you need to plan ahead for that. I think physically, if you don't have the physical or the emotional bandwidth to do that, I think you need to expect that the siblings that maybe don't live here or maybe aren't as close, I think you need to expect that they probably are not going to help to the level that you need them to help you, but to be grateful and have a grateful heart when they are able to assist you. And so if you go from a sense of scarcity where, in order to make this work, we have to have, a spreadsheet set out that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so-and-so is going to be here and so-and-so, you're going to fail. And then from a financial perspective, you need to plan for when you can't. Okay. And we did that. I mean, my mother-in-law was here for 4 years, and yes, we happen to own a home care agency, which was nice. We were able to handpick the perfect caregiver for her, and she loves Susan. She considers Susan her friend, which is perfect. But if you don't have the financial resources, you need to have a plan, and you need to sit down with your loved one and say, these are the things that I can do, but when it gets to this point, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. And you need to have a plan. So working, with, your attorney, having a plan with that, working with a geriatric care manager, talking with your family, and really looking at sort of what does this trajectory look like is really, those kind of like red flags. If you don't have a plan and a plan for the future, I think, there's a good chance there's going to be a lot of anger, resentment, anxiety, and just like a failure. And you may feel like a failure.
Well, this has been great stuff today. And I so appreciate, you coming on and talking about it, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about, what it involves and having someone there. You don't necessarily sleep very much, depending on if you're the caregiver. I went back and bought baby monitors, something hadn't had in years, so I could hear them, and things like that, things that you wouldn't think about it till you need it, so I think some days I should just put a list together and say, if you're going to have them in your house or just going to take care of them, here's all the things you need to know, so
absolutely, like special, a fall mat, potentially a bed that goes up and down, there's your Apple Watch, they can be like set where they can identify if there's a fall and they notify you. So if you're not in the same room, because when you have those kids and you don't sleep, it's kind of the same thing when you have elderly people you're caring for them, and then you're worrying about them. And so that, don't underestimate the stress and worry that will happen when you bring someone to your home. But there can be many, many blessings, that occur from it. I just think that, kind of what we're doing today is we're just starting to plan for the future, which is very important.
So Jennifer, if we've got people in Austin, because I know we've got listeners all over the place, and how do they find you?
So www.bluewaterhomecare.com, and we also have our hospice link on there as well. And we're located in Central Texas. Our office is in Leander. We serve all of the Austin and surrounding areas, and we are a non-medical. So we take care of all the activities of daily living, help people age in place, and also help families and caregivers. And then we also have a hospice as well. And you can also call us at 512-872-2955. That's our home care number.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, hon. You have a great day, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.